Hey everyone, welcome back to the Families Fly Free podcast. I'm Lyn Mettler, the creator of Families Fly Free, which teaches you my simple system to always be able to use miles and points to fly your whole family for free wherever you want to go. So I am hopping on here with some breaking news. I just spent my morning attending the Southwest Investment Day presentation, which, if you're not aware, this has been the day we were waiting for to get more details about changes that they're going to be making in 2025. So if you haven't heard, the big news is that Southwest is moving from no assigned seats to assigned seating. So if that has stopped you from flying Southwest, and I'm telling you, I hear that from a lot of people. People were just afraid of not knowing where they were going to sit on the plane. Now, we mastered this and we figured it out how to always be able to have families sit together, or at least one parent, one child. But it still made a lot of people nervous. So this is a good change that I think they're making. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to allow more families to be able to fly for free following our system, because it's just going to, I've already heard from people who are now willing to come in, learn the system, now that they know they can have an assigned seat. So we were waiting for today to get more details about what this assigned seating system will look like. So we did get some more details, but they still kind of left us hanging on exactly how that will work. But before we dive into that, I'm going to give you a full recap on this episode of what they talked about and my thoughts on it, because I've been following Southwest since at least 2015. And I've been writing about them on my blog, my former Go To Travel Gal blog, which some of you might have followed from a while ago. But I really have followed Southwest and kept up to date with their news and how they do things and how to earn the companion pass and all the different best ways to fly them and pay fewer points for every flight. And so we really have just mastered Southwest. And I did become a Southwest expert after just spending so much time, getting to know their system and working it myself. And now I help hundreds of families get the most possible value out of the Southwest system, at least for flying the destinations that they go to within the US and the Caribbean. And then we teach you the simplest way to always be able to fly for free to Europe as well, inside of Families Fly Free. But so I'm going to start with, because they announced a lot of interesting things today. I'm going to start with what I'm most excited about. And I will just, in summary, say that I think that the moves that they are making, I'm no financial expert, but I have run my own business for a gosh darn long time. And I have watched what they've done, and I know, because I talk to so many people day in and day out, what people do and don't like about Southwest. So the moves that I'm seeing them make, I think, are smart. I think they're addressing the reasons that people don't fly them. They're giving more people an opportunity to fly them, but at the same time, they aren't really changing anything that most of us Southwest loyalists love about the company, which that's really, really great news. I was hoping that they wouldn't change, the heart of who Southwest is, and I don't think they are. They're just trying to make some strategic moves to adjust to the current market and the way travel has changed, since the pandemic, to continue to remain a profitable company. And we all know, as business, as a business owner, or if you work at a business, the business has got to make money in order to sustain itself. And so we want Southwest Airlines to be successful, so they will continue to be around and keep offering that customer service that we love, and the unique things that set them apart from other airlines. So the thing I am most excited about and surprised about is that they have announced they're going to partner with other airlines to allow Southwest customers to fly to destinations Southwest doesn't currently fly to via some of these partnerships. So that is really, really exciting, because a lot of times I'm asked, well, oh, can I fly Southwest to Europe? I wish you could, but no, you can't. They don't even fly to Canada, but they do fly, of course, to Mexico and lots of great destinations in the Caribbean and Costa Rica. But we haven't totally exhausted it, but we've gone a lot of those places that we want to go. So I would love it if they would add some new destinations. So they announced a partnership to start with Iceland Air. And so you're going to be able to, I assume, use your Southwest points. You're definitely going to be able to book them through Southwest to fly to Iceland. And how cool is that? So we have a great webinar that we did earlier this year inside of Families Fly Free. You may have heard me say we host webinars every single month on different travel topics. And so we've built up a library of great content, and we have a good amount of content on different destinations to visit. And those webinars are led by myself or someone on my team or by our members who've actually been to those places, sharing with you exactly what we did and what we've learned and what we wish we had done in hindsight, where to eat, how to get around, what to see and do, where to stay, how we used our miles and points to fly there or stay there free. So we have a fantastic webinar on Iceland led by one of our longtime members that's already in Families Fly Free. So how cool if Iceland is on your bucket list. I know that's one I've kept an eye on over the years. We used to have Wow Air. I don't know if any of you remember that, but they were a very cheap way to fly to and from Iceland, and then they went under. But I was always thinking about going there when that was around. So they also announced that they would have at least one more airline partnership coming in this year, I think. So I don't know who that will be, but they did share during the presentation a map. They just kind of briefly put it up and didn't make much mention of it, but a map of places that you would be able to fly through these new partnerships. And so it looked like at least, quite a bit throughout Europe. That's super exciting. And it looked like throughout South Pacific as well. So maybe using their Hawaii base as a launch point, or California as well. So I'm very excited to see how this is going, who else they're going to add and where else we're going to be able to go. So then it's going to become super important that you really understand how to leverage the Southwest system to get to all these places and have enough points to do what you want. So next, let's go into the assigned seating. So what we know, what we got updated on and what we know thus far. So they said that they will begin to sell assigned seats in the second half of 2025. And those will be for flights starting in 2026. And they will start to retrofit their planes beginning at the start of 2025. So it's going to be a year before we actually will have an assigned seat on Southwest, but it's coming. So what it sounds like is that there will be 3 sections. There's going to be an extra legroom section, which will be about a third of the seats on the plane. And they're going to add 5 inches of legroom for these seats. And so they already have 31 inches is what will be through the rest of the plane, which is already more room than you get on most other airlines. So that, you actually do better on Southwest anyway, just with the standard legroom. So they will add 5 more inches to that. So we're going to have this extra legroom section at the front. Then there's going to be what they're kind of calling front of plane, but standard legroom, and then more back of plane, standard legroom. But really, I think those last 2 sections, they're the same amount of legroom. It's just how close you are to the front of the plane. Unless I'm not envisioning that quite right. And somehow they're going to have standard legroom also at the front of the plane with some of could be like they're going to spread out the extra legroom seats. I'm not sure, but they did say they're going to leave the extra legroom. It's not going to be a first class. It's not going to be 2 seats together. They're going to leave those 3 seats together the way they have it. But just add the additional space, because that's a more profitable way for them to do it. And it keeps them from, not having to make quite a large change to their planes. This is a little bit easier for them to get it done more quickly. So the boarding process is going to stay the same, which is great news, because that has been proven to be the fastest way to board a plane, the way Southwest does it. You are going to have an assigned seat, but you will also have an assigned boarding order, just like you do right now. And so you will line up on next to the stanchions, they call them, with your assigned boarding group, and you will still board in that order. Now, if you are someone who likes to have A-list or A-list preferred status, that isn't something that I normally recommend, and I've done some podcasts about why that is the case. That said, I do have some members that for various reasons, it is important to them to have A-list or A-list preferred status because they need to get on the plane early and they need to be sure they have their pick of seats, et cetera. And so this is where Families Fly Free is great. Like we can customize it to you. Yes, I have a process to follow that works, but we need to customize it to your particular situation. And so we can do that when you become a member, and we can work with you to make sure that you're getting what your family needs or desires. All right. So the A-list and A-list preferred are going to maintain all their same benefits, but they're going to be able to have access to these extra legroom seats. They're going to get first priority access to those if they're available for booking when they're booking. So A-list preferred will get access to these extra legroom seats at the time of booking, and then A-list will get access with if there's some available still within 48 hours of the flight, and both will have access to the standard legroom seats that are closer to the front of the plane, and they will still board first, probably behind the business select people. That's the highest fare class on Southwest. And in terms of the different fare types, so Wanna Get Away has always been the cheapest fare that I recommend buying most of the time because you pay the fewest points that way. It is no longer it will not come with an assigned seat. So for most of the families that I work with, they're going to want an assigned seat because they're going to want to be able to sit with their family. Like that's even worse than not having a higher boarding order. To just have no assigned seat at all, you're probably going to get put between two people or at the back of the plane and wouldn't be assured you're together. So what I will probably start recommending is that if you need an assigned seat, that you buy the next fare class, which is Wanna Get Away Plus, which does come with a standard assigned seat. So that may just cost you more points. And again, this is why Families Fly Free is such a benefit to the people who are members, is we play so many different tricks and hacks. It's not just one, it's many different types that we see changing all the time. And you always have access to real time, what's working. And again, all of it is just playing their rules. It's just knowing what their rules are and being very creative about how to make the best use of them. And I guarantee you probably haven't thought of some of the things that we have in there. It's really amazing what you can do. And so you're going to need to know these tips and strategies to really pay fewer points. If you're having to pay more points for a higher fare class, you're going to need to know how to work that down to as low as possible in order to still be able to take the trips that you want to take. And I don't see this being a problem under my system at all, because our folks tend to have plenty of points to do what they want to do, so much so that they're able to get free hotel stays as well. We have people, booking 14 and 20 flights in a year for free. And so having to pay a few more points for a higher fare class, I don't think is going to be an issue as long as you understand all the different ways to maximize Southwest and to work that price down, whatever the price is. So that's the only change that I really foresee in terms of flying free and using miles and points with them, is you may just have to upgrade to the next fare class. And there's some really good things you can do with that fare class too, if you know how to play it right. So it's going to come with the Wanna Get Away Plus will come with the seating assignment. And then it doesn't really, they didn't explain in the presentation what type of seating assignment you'd get with each fare class, but you'll just get a better seating assignment if you buy an anytime fare. And then the best yet will be business select, of course. All right. They are maintaining the same day standby for Wanna Get Away fares, which is another thing you can play with to try to work your price down and get some better deals. So they're not changing that, and they're not changing anything about being able to check 2 bags for free. That's great news. They're not changing the fact that they don't charge you change fees or cancellation fees. Their travel credits with no expiration date, all great. Though, again, I always am telling members, you want to avoid those travel credits and love vouchers if you can. And you can do that in large part by only booking in points. And so we really show you, make sure you understand how to do that. Because when you book in points, you get the ultimate flexibility to really work some deals in Southwest. And when you pay in cash is when you start getting these credits, and they're just, you can work with them, but it's way more hassle than you should have to do. And if you do end up with them, maybe you get some love vouchers because of delays or something. We have a great video in Families Fly Free where we show you how to cobble those all together. Again, not easy, but you can do it so that you can use them for any person, and then they end up in one big bunch instead of a bunch of separate ones, and with no expiration date. So it makes them a little bit easier to deal with, but we try to avoid them if we can. All right, so we talked about elite status. And we talked about the partnerships with other airlines. That's exciting. Okay, another thing that they announced was they're changing their vacation packages program. So you can, right now you can book a vacation package, which you really can through any airline, through Southwest. And it includes your flights and your hotels, and, maybe includes some activities or something as well. So they're rebranding that as getaways, and they are going to allow you to book these with points. That could be great. We'll have to see what the pricing looks like, and if there's any way we can work that price down. We'll just have to see how it's set up. And they're also going to allow you, just like flights, to be able to change or cancel these with no penalty. And if you pay in cash, I presume, then they mentioned that you would have the ability to get a credit back if you did make a change or cancel, like maybe you change it to a different date and it was less or something like that, you would get a credit back. And possibly they hinted at you might be able to use your travel credits, maybe love vouchers, to book these getaways. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Now, another thing that we've seen, and they just briefly touched on this, they didn't spend a lot of time on it, and there weren't really any questions about it. But yesterday, Wednesday, September 25th, they sent out a memo to employees in Atlanta. And over the weekend, they had sent out a memo basically saying, like, hard changes are coming ahead. We're going to be making more changes than we initially thought we were going to have to, because basically Southwest is trying to return itself to profitability. A lot of the airlines are struggling because labor costs have gone up. They've renegotiated contracts with the different unions. They're struggling with inflation just like everybody is, and then trying to get back to an ability to predict what the market is going to be for travel post-pandemic. It's just, there's been so many different things that have caused fluctuations that make it difficult to predict. And then we throw into the mix Boeing safety issues, and now there's a strike. And so that's preventing them from delivering the planes to Southwest that they were expecting to have. And so then they're having to kind of reconfigure their schedule based on that. So there's a lot of things going on. They're just trying to make themselves healthy, and as healthy as possible, and back to profitability. So part of doing that, they're looking at the routes that they fly right now, and they're cutting ones that are not profitable for them. And so earlier we saw them just cut some just airports entirely. So I think we had Bellingham, Washington, we had Houston, George Bush, we had Albany, New York, I think was one, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one, but so they cut multiple airports, and then we're seeing another round here where they're just kind of dropping routes. And so Atlanta was the big one where the employee memo came out yesterday, where they said that they were going to go from 37 destinations down to 21 that they serve from Atlanta. And they explained on the call during the Q&A that Atlanta just has they've not been able to get it to profitability, probably because Delta just absolutely dominates that market. And so they've just decided to reduce the amount that they're flying out of there. But they said they would still be the second biggest airline in Atlanta. And of course, Delta would be number one. So that's some bad news if you live in Atlanta. I think that's probably the worst news of all of this. And they did basically kind of mention Chicago, O'Hare, and Oakland in that same conversation with Atlanta. So I'm thinking we might see the same thing happen at those airports, where they significantly reduce the destinations that they're flying to. And we may just see that continue to happen as they reevaluate their network. They also talked about Hawaii. That was a market that they added right before the pandemic. And so I think it struggled somewhat just because of that timing. And then Hawaii was really closed for a long time during the pandemic. We went to Hawaii just as soon as it opened after that, and then the year following, and timed it really great and got some incredible deals to fly there in points for our whole family. And so I'm so glad we went and did that at the right time. But so they're cutting Hawaii flights by 25%, and they're cutting inter-island flights. I think that hasn't really, no pun intended, taken off for them either. So they're cutting inter-island flights, so from Oahu to Kauai or Maui to the Big Island, et cetera, by 20%. But they are adding red-eye flights, and Southwest has never flown red-eye flights until recently. And that's a way that they're trying to make use of the planes they have rather than having to wait for Boeing to deliver more. They can fly more routes during times that these planes are normally out of use overnight. So they have started to add some red-eye flights in different destinations. And so they are adding them to get from Hawaii back to the US, which is good because they were struggling to get folks back to the East Coast from Hawaii because of the time difference within the same day. So this will allow them to do that by flying the overnight flights. So they'll have some red eyes from the different islands to Las Vegas and to Phoenix. So that'll be great. And then on the upside, they are adding some routes. So in areas where they are seeing things go well and be profitable. So Nashville is one. They've added more employees there. And then they are announced in April. And that's the same timing for Atlanta. When it will decrease, it will be in April. But as of April, they will add Albuquerque, Albany, New York, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Providence, Rhode Island, and Tulsa, Oklahoma as destinations you can fly to out of Nashville. In terms of if you're a Southwest card holder, I know a lot of you want to know how the benefits are going to be affected. And they've just kind of been quiet on that. They did send an email just saying, changes are coming. They're going to be beneficial and they'll have more details soon. And I wouldn't worry about this. I don't think they're going to do anything detrimental. These cards make them a lot of money. They did talk about that in the presentation today. And so I think the only thing we're going to see shift when it comes to the cards is these perks like Early Bird, which basically lets you get checked in ahead of everyone else on Southwest right now to give you a boarding order ahead of those people. And then their upgraded boarding, which is a way you can upgrade to an A1 through 15 boarding order if it's available after you check in on Southwest. Those are perks that you get on some of their cards. So I think those will just become seat selections. So probably the early birds might give you 2 seat selections and, maybe that standard backup plane, and the A1 through 15s will become, maybe standard legroom seat selections, or maybe it'll be 2, extra legroom seat selections. It'll be something like that. And it's, everything else I think will remain the same. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. And then just a couple other last things. So again, no change to the 2 free bags. That's fantastic. That would have been a real bummer if they had changed that, but they seem committed to leaving that the way it is. They're going to now be listing their flights for sale on Skyscanner. They've already released them on Google Flights and on Kayak. And I guess that's gone well for them, according to what they said. They have said there will be new ways to earn and redeem rapid rewards points through different partnerships, which sounds exciting. It's a kind of a little teaser. And they also mentioned that they're working to reduce their turnaround time for flights by 5 minutes. So that could be a positive change as well, as more efficiency, less delays getting places because they're able to turn that flight around more quickly, and they're trying to reduce paperwork and go all digital to help with that process. And we may see some changes at the gate where there's, they're trying to be more efficient about getting everyone boarded, less talking, less communications, more, they talked about, just kind of signage that's telling you what you need to do, that type of thing to try to help things run more efficiently. So that is what I have for you after Southwest Investment Day. Again, overall, I think it's a great plan. I'm really excited about some of the changes that they're going to make. And I just highly encourage you, if you want to, if you're ready to fly Southwest, I've got the best system going that allows you to always fly them for free. And bring your whole family with you and fly. Most of our families are flying 4 to 6 times a year, which is amazing. And then also show you how to do Europe and international flights a different way, but also simple. So if you haven't flown them and you're ready to, come on along. We would love to help you. And if you've already been flying Southwest and you really want to maximize the Southwest system, like we have got it down. And I'm regularly updating my members. As soon as anything happens, I'm giving them the information like I am to you today, but I'm really analyzing it and I'm showing them what this means for them, because a lot of times just by hearing the changes that Southwest is making and what's going on with them helps us play some of the hacks that we've discovered even better. And then we have this collective voice of our community of members, and they're every day figuring out new and better ways to do things that are really clever and really creative. And really, it all just comes down to helping you have a better flight experience, get on the flights that you would prefer, the times, the connections, etc., and pay fewer points than what you see the published points price to be. So if you want to really get in and make sure you're making the most out of Southwest, you're going to love Families Fly Free. Like, we have so much fun doing this. It's just incredible to see what the deals you can get sometimes, and brag about it to your friends and family. And they're going to be like, how are you doing this? And you're going to be doing it because you have the inside track on everything that's going on. So if you want to learn more about Families Fly Free, you can go to familiesflyfree.com/join. And we send out regular alerts to our members all the time with just the information they need to know. So they already have a message, an email with top line information from me about this and a video of what it means for them and how it affects my system and anything they need to shift. So it's a great time saver as well, that you can just take a look at only the information that you need to know and then take action on it, without having to pour through gobs of emails or podcasts or blogs or anything like that. So all right, that's what I've got for you this week. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.